Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Side to Side Sportscast, where it's your boys, Will, Woody, and CJ, and we come to break it on down with our guest, Shawn Castleberry, from the courtside, the ringside, the sidelines, and for those sports they play outdoors, we outside, we side to side. That's how we ride. And today, we want to turn our attention to the man himself, Mr. Shawn Castleberry, who you may be familiar with on our side-to-side draft special, called the shot for the Detroit Lions. He said, Aiden Hutchinson is our guy, and if the Jacksonville Jaguars are interested in him, then we need to trade up to get him because we got the picks to do it. But you know what? Jacksonville made it easy for you. They did what they do. And they picked something that nobody can really understand why they did what they did. And then Aiden Hutchinson fell to you. So, Shawn, man, what's up? Welcome to the Side to Side Sportscast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me back, guys. I'm glad that those 10 minutes I had didn't scare you guys off. So this should be a lot.
No, man, it was actually great stuff. And today, we want to know more about you, the sports fan. So obviously, you can see it in the background, repping Barry Sanders. You got the jersey on. You picked Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, you're a Detroit Lions fan.
Detroit.
What other sports? What other? Detroit through and through. So run us down the list. What are some of your favorite Detroit teams and players, past and present, in any sport?
Sure, yeah. So again, as growing up in Detroit, we were one of those lucky cities that had every major sports team. And I was a fan of every major sports team: Lions, Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons. And growing up, I grew up in a small little town, spitting distance from Ann Arbor, Michigan, home of the Big House. So if I wanted to go to a movie, I had to go to Ann Arbor. We were right on little Chelsea, Michigan is the hometown there. And it's really what I grew up. So a Michigan Wolverine through and through on everything too. Those are my five true teams that I follow endlessly. I've lived outside of the Detroit area now for 22 years, out here in San Diego, California. It's never changed, guys. It's still Detroit all the way through for everything I do.
Awesome,
when it comes to players, comes to players, like I said, real easy to see. Barry's my boy. Watched nearly every game that man's played. It was a joy. You were not at a game at the Pontiac Silverdome back when they played. When he touched that ball, you did this. You sat up in your seat, edge of your seat, every single time he touched the ball. He might lose 6 yards on a play, but the very next play, he's going to scamper for 85. It was just one of those things with that man. I was blessed, to be able to be at the game when he broke the 2,000 yards against the Jets. Sorry, Woody. It was against the Jets back in 97. It was the build up to it late in the season. And I need 4 yards. I need 3 yards. Oh, wait, now I need 7 yards. And then he barely got it. He got right at 2,000. And then the very next play, busted for 53 yards. So that was Barry. Just how it was to be able to watch him and just to see such an amazing career. It was really something special. One real deep non-Detroit athlete that really has a place with me, and this is just a story I definitely wanted to share, is Drew Brees. So let me tell you a little bit about my Drew Brees story. This was back when Drew was still with the Chargers. And so he was, I want to say it was right after his rookie year. It was in 2003 is when this was. So 2003, there was a charity event downtown San Diego, Taste of the NFL. They brought in all these different restaurants, had this different stuff, little silent auction things going on, all of that. So I was able to go down and I was able to meet him. And the interesting thing about that night is the next morning, my wife was going to have a baby. We already had the plan being induced. It was set. Like the in-laws were in town. That's the only reason I got a hall pass, because I had the in-laws in town. So somewhere in the conversation, I said, "Yeah, Drew, I'm having a kid tomorrow," and he's like, "Oh, that's so cool. You know, do you have a name picked out yet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna name him Chase." So cool, awesome. Well, you know, he's got to do his thing, right? Running around, meeting everybody, and all that. So no big deal. Thought I had a cool Drew Brees story right then and there. About 20 minutes later, I get a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Drew Brees wanting to talk to me. You know, just some dude. And he's like, "Hey, I got something for you." And he hands me this football. I'm going to try to. But what it says on this football is "Welcome to the World, Chase."
That's cool, man.
That's beautiful, man.
I literally have goosebumps. I have goosebumps.
So this has made Drew obviously like the man in our house. You know, it's been part of our life forever. And then the second part of this story is about 10 years ago, I was running a little side business where we were doing some like youth athletic training, getting out on the field and doing a bunch of stuff. And Drew actually trains with a trainer out here in San Diego still. And they had something lined up. So I was able to actually get some of my Pop Warner kids over to the field. And I was able to meet with Drew again. I'm like, "Hey, you know, you're not going to remember this, you know, but about 10 years ago, we met. You did this football thing. My kid was about to be born. He was super nice and lied to me and said that he remembered." I know he did. That's fine. But I'm like, this is the kid. So I was actually able, like, Chase was able to meet the guy that signed a football for him before he was born. And I got a photo of Drew and my boy standing on the 50-yard line at the stadium to go along with the original autograph. So that's my, you know, my favorite athlete, because he's, you know, obviously he's great in the community, even once he went to New Orleans, everything he's done just as an athlete, just a great human being. And, you know, if you're not a Drew Brees fan after hearing that, then I don't know what's wrong with you. So.
Exactly. Listen, shout out to Drew Brees, man.
Yes.
For just being an incredible human being. I mean, we haven't never heard an intimate story like that about Drew Brees, but always heard good things about Drew Brees, and you just pretty much validate that. So shout out to Chase and shout out to Drew. That is awesome stuff, man. Now, you're in San Diego.
Yep.
You're repping Detroit through and through.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Brees, favorite athlete of all time. You know, Barry Sanders is the man in your book. There's got to be some teams that just get under the skin in across all the sports. Who are those teams that you just can't stand?
Well, I'd have, so if we go down the order of operations here, top of the list is that team from Ohio. I will never say their full university name. They're just Ohio. No, I don't do that either.
Okay.
We all know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
You know, outside of my Red Wings apparel, I don't wear red ever. It doesn't happen. There's that much just born genetic hate. The only thing I have ever liked about Ohio for me is Chris Spielman. You know, he's number 54 with the Lions. I'm holding out hope for Jeff Okudah, you know, our number 3 draft pick from 2 years ago, the cornerback. But outside of that, man, that's a tough one for me to ever swallow. You know, he did not get the first down. And I think any fan knows what game I'm talking about. The ultimate game, though, in that rivalry for me was probably about, I can't remember the year, but it was the day after Bo Schembechler died. And Michigan, Ohio State was they were ranked 1 and 2 heading into that game, and it came down to the wire. You know, over last play, field goal beats us. That one hurt, but I mean it truly defines rivalry to me. in everything that we have. Outside of the college game, if we're talking Lions, I'm looking at the Packers. Those guys. How do you get so lucky to get Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers back to back? So for 20 some years, they've had those two quarterbacks. It's still only managed 2 Super Bowls. They're doing something wrong there. But that is just not right for them to have that kind of quarterback success when, my poor Lions, we had Stafford and kind of wasted him. But, we just haven't been able to build that roster. Tigers, CJ, you're gonna like this one. It's the Red Sox.
Really? It's interesting.
Well, and it goes to one of, and I was going to save it for later, but I'll just throw it out there now. I want you to think back to 2013.
Oh yeah.
CS.
Oh yeah.
A certain little grand slam when my Torrey Hunter ended up flipping over the outfield wall.
I was there.
Oh,
yeah.
That was one of the worst moments.
That's the year, ironically, that I worked for the Red Sox and got to attend those games. So yeah, I can see why that one still might hurt a little bit. It was quite the opposite for me. So
And when you go Red Wings, from the hockey side of it all, I mean, the hatred there is the Colorado Avalanche. If you go back and if you know anything about, that rivalry we had during the heydays, March 28th is the date that is the anniversary of the brawl when both goalies came out to center ice and started beating the hell out of each other. Darren McCarty beating up on Claude Lemieux where he turtled in the middle of it. We had hundreds of penalty minutes in that game, all because they broke Chris Draper's face, up against the glass. But it was a battle. Those two teams were just so talented. Hall of Famers left and right in that roster. They always talk about, the Yankees and, with payroll, how many Hall of Famers they had. That Red Wings team from, I think, the 97 year, I think 97 or 98 had 9 future Hall of Famers on that team. That's what you can do in sports without salary caps, guys.
Wow. I have a question, Shawn. So, me, I watch hockey on a surface level, pretty much whatever highlights they show on ESPN, right? Mm-hmm. And I may follow what's going on just through ESPN. I don't actually watch a full game. I'm not too well versed with the rules from the rink side of the game. But I do remember this goalie versus goalie brawl, right? And I always wondered, how does that start? Like, does the goalie be like, yo, you suck, from like all the way over there? Like, do the teammates instigate? Do the teammates go to the other guy like, yo, my boy said you're trash? Like, how does it get down to where they just be like, you know what, we gotta go, and they meet in the middle of the rink and just start fighting? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, that particular night, it was because everybody else was already fighting. Like, if you go, I mean, I'm telling you, just do the search. March 28th, Red Wings Avalanche. It's all you got to Google there. You'll pull this thing up, and you will be entertained for like 20 minutes of makers going. Well, and so what happened is they see all these other guys fighting, and like, well, I don't want to just stand here like a I'm going to get out there and help my team. And they just kind of met, and they're all super padded up, so they can't really move.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
Then they just get after it. It was amazing.
Actually, Gaddy, it's actually a penalty. The goalie cannot cross the half-point line. He gets automatically ejected unless there's a line change and he's got to go to the opposite bench. But yeah, it's I actually had a conversation about this the other day. That's super ironic that you brought that up because I too, like, I'm a bandwagon Bruins fan. I jump on anytime they make the playoffs because playoff hockey is fun for me to watch. But
it's my favorite. If you watch playoff hockey, now regular season hockey is a different beast, but a playoff hockey game is so intense. Every shot, you're just on edge. It's the crashes into the glass. It's a different sport once playoffs go around.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely is. like I said, I'm just a bandwagon fan, but I'm on it right now. I'm on the bandwagon. We got hockey.
Yeah, I had, the Red Wings actually hold the record for the longest streak of making the playoffs of any professional sports team. They went 25 straight years of making the playoffs. Now, the last 4 now, it hadn't been too pretty for us. So I'm hoping that, we get this thing turned around.
I was hoping, because I actually haven't even realized the amount of heat, like the heat in these rivalries that you're talking about. But I'm feeling the heat right now. I feel like there's like another explosion that occurred in
Chicago Bulls.
Maybe. Oh well, I mean, there was malice in a palace. I don't know.
Oh, that was with the Pacers. Yep. I remember that one too. That is. I'd hate to say that that's what Detroit sports fans are like. That was definitely an insane event. But if you look at the rivalry that we've had with the Bulls, if you start going back into that era, the Bad Boys, which again are one of my top memory teams, the 80, 89, 90, Pistons. Those are the teams that kept Michael Jordan from getting anywhere. They had to work through that team before he got on his run of 3 in a row. Then I'm gonna go play baseball for a little bit. Then we'll win 3 more in a row. Okay. He couldn't get past the Pistons. There was, they called it the Jordan rules. They had developed a defense that was able to stymie him, and the rest of the team hadn't been able to step up yet. Now, obviously, once Pippen grew into what Pippen became, and then the Pistons started getting broken up, and Rodman went and joined that team, and Kukoc came in, and they started to have some of that roster. It was different. But I look at the old NBA versus, now where it's a lot of, okay, it's the offseason. Let's make this amazing team. You saw back then, you had to fight your way through. Even those bad boy Pistons, they had to get through the Celtics when you had Bird, Parrish, McHale, Dennis Johnson, all those guys. It took them a couple years before they were able to overcome them. Then they went and lost to the Lakers that first year that they made the playoffs. It was the following year in 89, they made it all the way back, played the Lakers again, and then that's when they swept the Lakers and won the championship that year. So it's fighting your way up the ladder. And I think that's really one of those great things that I don't see as much in today's NBA. It's a different game, but I really appreciate how teams used to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing beats the old school hardwood. Nothing. Now, we kind of touched upon some Detroit sports, but let's talk about some Motor City Mayhem. And how about we kick it off with your Detroit Lions to begin with? You want to talk about playoff droughts. Now the Lions have been to the playoffs within the past decade, but the unique thing about this last season is they're in a rebuild, but the Lions are pretty scratchy and clawy. I know that's not a real phrase, but we're going to roll with it. They played games closer than people would imagine. The team is really not that far away from being a team that can beat you any Sunday. I think they're a very underrated team, but you being the Detroit native out in San Diego, what do you think about the Lions this year? And what are you excited about what they added to the team? And, what would be your perfect scenario season realistically this year?
Well, I think realistically, I want to see a playoff game. That if we can get there with this team, I think that should make the fan base happy. I turned 50 years old this year. I've witnessed one playoff win in my lifetime. That was in 1991 against the Dallas Cowboys. So only time I've ever seen a playoff win. So as many, when you've got guys like Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson and those Herman Moore and some of the players that we've had roll through, Billy Sims, you really want to go back, deep in there, the original number 20. We deserve to have more than one of those. So I want to see that. And I think if we can get there, there's going to be so much momentum. I think we'll have a really good shot of winning, whoever we play in that game. That would be an incredible season for us. As we talked about in the draft show, we lost 11 games last year of our 13 by 10 points or less. So we were in every game. It's the ball bounces a different way, can change the outcome of half of those games. You almost expect that to happen this year if we're in those same spots. Some of those, the ball is going to bounce our way. We're not going to get beat by a record-setting field goal again. Well, maybe we will, but I sure, So those kind of things tend to balance out over the long run. So I definitely see an improvement there just with the roster that we had. Now you want to talk about a draft day. You can't get much happier than I was as the way things panned out. To have Aiden Hutchinson Hutch fall to us at number 2 was just a dream come true. You got your local kid, you got everything lined up. As you guys know, I was willing to move some trade collateral to go get him. Didn't have to. We were able to use that trade collateral and move up 20 spots and get Jameson Williams. Arguably the best receiver in the class. So, and we don't need him right now. As we talked about on the draft show, I don't look at this year as, hey, Goff's our guy. I think Goff is a great bridge quarterback. I think he can get us to a playoff this year. But I think now we can become a destination. We're witnessing the new NFL right now, guys. Quarterbacks have taken over the league and are now deciding where they want to go and what they want to do, who they want to play with. It changes everything. The way that teams used to be built is around the quarterback. Now you build a team, like the old, Field of Dreams moment. If you build it, they will come. And I think that's what you're seeing happen here is they're putting this team together and you see a guy like that sit there. I wouldn't mind throwing to Jameson Williams. I wouldn't mind having this kind of, line over there. I wouldn't mind having, the secondary that they've been able to put together. That's a team that fights. Dan Campbell's got a bunch of fighters out there. Let me go join them. Let me be the guy that takes Detroit somewhere where it hasn't been in most people's lifetimes. That's what I see it happening. So I think it's going to be an exciting year. Now, I could be 100% wrong.
Hey,
if they stink again this year. Here's the best part. If they stink again, then they're in line to be able to go get Bryce Young, and we can have the whole quarterback wide receiver combo that Joe Burrow has made famous now. So that's my bet.
I was going to say when you start, listen, be careful what you wish for, because you said you wanted Goff as a bridge quarterback. If he wins too much and has too much success, you might find yourself in well, let's just call it purgatory land, and winning just enough games to make your fan base satisfied, maybe win a playoff game here and there, and
that's otherwise. That's for me. That's otherwise known as the Wayne Fonts era. Of 8, 9-7, 7-9, bank it every year.
Yeah, just so what I would say is a great year for you guys is maybe get 3 wins, 4 wins. Go in, cash them in, get another quarterback, like you just said, pair them up with another, stash another few. You see what else you can get, in the draft, and just that's a complete overhaul, rebuild. That way. So
I wouldn't be sad. I would not be sad. I do look at the next year's quarterback class as there, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. I mean, you got a couple guys coming in there that could really do it. Who knows what Spencer Rattler, now that if he can get his head screwed on straight, he might end up putting himself back where everybody thought he was going to be last year.
Yeah, that's
true.
Yeah, and you can never really, the whole tank thing to me is like, all right, if there's like a Joe Burrow in the QB class, then Joe's coming out and he's going first. So but tanking could lead to Trevor Lawrence. You don't know. I guess we have to wait and see how Trevor Lawrence plays this year. But I actually think if the Detroit Lions play well, let's just call it 9-8, 8-9, somewhere around there, hovering around 500, and Goff gets to continue to carry the torch, I don't really think that's a bad thing. I mean, contractually, I don't think he's on the hook for too long. You can still make a move and go up and get your guy to supersede him, but Goff, you want him to be I feel like a lot of your season really rides on that arm, unfortunately. But if he could play, like, if they can keep everything blocked up, they can get the running game going, and they can make some game-changing plays to turn these 10-point deficits into maybe a 3-point win here and there. I actually think the Lions are one of the more underrated teams going into this next season. And I would not be surprised if they, win some games that many people expect them to lose.
Well, you look at the division, and there's some winnable games there. We should absolutely be able to compete with the Chicagos. What is Green Bay going to be now when Aaron Rodgers doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to? He'll still make somebody an All-Pro. That's just who he is. But you hope that they've come back a little bit. Minnesota, right. Kirk Cousins can be great one day and look like a total dog the next. You just got to catch him one of those days. So, because he's got some amazing receivers out there, it just is he going to throw it 3 yards in front of them and they're into their toes? So,
well, Justin Jefferson still might catch those. I don't know.
He might. So, when you're in that division, you should be able to sneak, 3 wins, split, maybe split with Minnesota, split with Green Bay, and hopefully sweep Chicago, right there. I mean, that's 4 wins right there. If you can get 4 out of that, you're playing a last place schedule, so you're getting those couple easy games the way the NFL builds their schedules. I can't remember which division they're playing this year, but they got nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because we said the word playoffs, right? We're talking about the Lions' upcoming season, we've mentioned the word. I think all of us have said the word now in relation to the Lions. Is that how do you feel compared to the other Motor City teams? Can we see that for? When are we going to see that for the Red Wings? Right, that season kind of just ended. The Pistons. What do you think? And how would you rank the big four teams in terms of playoff contention?
So if I'm ranking which teams kind of in order, I think is going to kind of hit the promised land first. I'm actually putting the Tigers first. I think the Tigers, they've had their run where they were really bad. Okay. I got to witness some of the good years, back with Verlander and Scherzer and that team, from the 2013 and everything. But then they went through their rebuild. And those kids are all hitting the majors right now. You got Casey Mize, you got Matt Manning, you got Tarek Skubal, Spencer Torkelson, just a bomber, just made his debut, a couple weeks ago, opening day. He's already, I think, got 4 home runs. We went out and signed Javi Baez. That guy is in MVP considerations in a lot of years. So we're hoping we can get that out of him. There's more guys still coming in that farm system. So they start to build back to what we're used to. So I think they're closest of all the teams we have so far. And to be honest, all 4 of my teams over probably the last 5 years have probably been about as low as they've ever been collectively. I haven't had a rough patch like this in my life. I think 3 years ago it was all 4 of my teams had a top 5 draft pick. It just goes to show it was a rough patch for me.
Don't sleep on the Pistons for too long, man. They got a great young core. Do not sleep on the
Cade
Pistons.
Cunningham is the real deal.
Yeah,
watch this kid.
I mean, Isaiah Stu. They got players around him too that are young and capable.
Yep. I mean, and
Sadiq Bey is a bigger beast than
he's incredible.
we ever thought he'd be for sure.
And we're sitting here. We're probably going to have a top 3 pick.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So we're looking at. I'd love to see Banchero come over. I think he'd be a perfect from Duke. I think he'd be a perfect complement with Cunningham. If we get that guy in there, I mean, again, his frame, he just doesn't look like a kid. Out. Yeah, it would be amazing.
Listen, if we get any top 3 pick with Cade,
yeah, seriously. I worry about Holmgren. He just reminds me of a Sean Bradley that can shoot threes.
He reminds me of
that sounds pretty good to me. Listen, if you can shoot threes, I'm okay with that.
If we sign him, I want something stipulated in the contract before he goes to bed every night. He's got to eat a peanut butter sandwich and a glass of milk.
Like 4 peanut butter sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I hear you on that.
Cade Cunningham is very impressive. He started off the year when the Lions didn't win a game. They were losing. He was out. Then he came back and he started off. He wasn't shooting too well, but you could tell he was trying to get his rhythm. By the end of the season, he wasn't just one of the best rookies in the league. He was one of the best players in the league.
His plus really, minus was off the charts. I think after he turned it up. 2 months.
He's the first rookie to ever average 15, 5, and 5 and not win Rookie of the Year, by the way. So all the rookies who have done that prior to him have won Rookie of the Year. But it's just, we live in a day and age where the award goes to the player on the best team in most cases nowadays. They're kind of breaking free from that in somewhat, but, with the Rookie of the Year, no disrespect to Scotty Barnes. He had a great season too. They were all well-deserving. But Cade Cunningham was definitely my pick for Rookie of the Year. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets Most Improved Player next year. So it's going to be a I'd say as far as, we call it Motor City Maniacs. Listen, Motor City Mania is coming. What you going to do when the Pistons and the Lions come for you?
It's bound to happen, guys. The teams are rebuilding, and they've been there with the exception of the Lions. I mean, I've witnessed championships. I was at Game 1 of the World Series. They lost that one in 2006, but they've gone there. 1984 Tigers. That was my favorite team of all time. That team started 35-5 that year. They rolled the entire season. That Jack Morris, Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker, Lance Parrish, Kirk Gibson, the original Kirk Gibson walk-off home run, by the way, not the one he hit with the Dodgers, but the one he hit off Goose Gossage in Game 5 to clinch that thing. Another great little video clip if you ever want to look it up. Look up Gibson's home run. Gossage comes out and says they talked to him before the pitch. And he didn't want to intentionally walk Gibson. He wanted to go after him. I mean, that's Goose Gossage. Sparky Anderson's in the dugout. He don't want to walk you. He don't want to do it. Go hit it. And he takes him deep. It was just beautiful. So.
No, you definitely seen championships. Looks like you said the Tigers are closest to it. And hopefully
Tigers. Then I say the Pistons, then the Lions. I think again with what the Lions are doing, they're building their way to that. Dan Campbell is going to give us the culture change that we need. We've had coaches in the past that didn't develop that culture. Again, we wasted Barry Sanders. We wasted Calvin Johnson. We wasted Matt Stafford. These guys, they didn't build the culture around the elite players. We have an opportunity now with a head coach that seems to really be able to rally players and play beyond their skill level with what we saw last year. So that's the kind of coach I think that can not only make players better, attract players to come in and get those missing pieces that you might not be able to find in a draft. And as sad as it is, I think the Red Wings are the furthest away. I trust the captain, Stevie Y. He's been my guy for forever, but it's going to take a while. We got another top 10 pick coming again. I think we got, what felt like getting really robbed 2 years ago in the draft. They switched to that draft lottery. We were by far the worst team that year. And we ended up getting the 6th pick, the way the lottery balls fell. But we got lucky, and the guy we got out of that, a guy named Lucas Raymond, real deal. I mean, the kid can play. I think he's this year was his rookie year. I think he still put up almost 60 points, for us. So, he's a playmaker getting out there. He's outperformed some of the other kids that were drafted ahead of him. So we like that, and hopefully we get a good pick this year. So.
I get nervous. I get nervous about legendary players joining the front office. We got Magic Johnson, drafting Alonzo Ball out here, and
whatever Jordan took over the Knicks.
Well, I don't know. I'm nervous. I mean, I feel like Elway is probably one of the best in both roles. Maybe Jerry West in there too, even though they're slandering him on HBO.
Oh, eating him up, serious. The thing I can say for Yzerman though is luckily we're not the first. He went to Tampa Bay, and that's where he created that championship culture there. He was in charge of that whole team, all the picks, all the roster moves, everything. So Wings will be putting in a new head coach this year. They're not renewing the contract for their guy, so Stevie's going to get his pick. I'm hoping for good things.
Oh well,
I'm with you.
Speaking of drafts, let's reverse this a little bit and go back to football, some football draft, because it's the hot topic. Obviously, if anybody listened to our cast last week, this man Shawn wanted to trade up to get his boy Hutch, and he didn't even have to. And then he goes and he's able to use some of those assets to go and get themselves a nice potential number one receiver for that team. So we want to go around the board too for our teams. I know that. And I know Gaddy, you got some thoughts on your Cowboys?
Listen, I have to say the Cowboys, regardless of their playoff record over the past 25 years, they consistently have pretty decent drafts. It's just what you do with that talent is another thing. But this year, the Cowboys needed to do a couple things. Needed to address the offensive line. The last couple years, the line has been deteriorating. Tyron Smith isn't getting any younger. There were a lot of different prospects in the draft this year. In addition to that, you needed to go defensive line. Randy Gregory had become a very prominent force on the right side last year. And to lose him to Denver, that was a hurt. But you need to address that. This is a good draft with plenty quality edge rushers needed to do it. And then the big one, traded Amari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns. You need a receiver. So what order do we need these players in? Well, I actually really like what the Cowboys did. If I were to give the Dallas Cowboys a draft grade, I'm going to give them a B. I usually don't like to give draft grades based on the actual draft. You can only go by, did they fill positions that they need and did they get a quality player? But you really have to wait until a few years to see how it worked out, because not everybody that gets drafted is what they were, expected to be. And that can go both ways. Some low picks can be good. But Tyler Smith from Tulsa is a beast. He is a physical freak. He's built from the same cloth as Tyron Smith, almost the same size, build, and strength. But he doesn't have a lot of discipline. But he's got the great locker room to learn from Tyron as far as that is concerned. And then in the second round, the Cowboys draft Sam Williams, who I was a big fan of coming out of Ole Miss. He is quick, twitchy edge rusher. He reminds me of Daniel Hunter from, not just LSU, but from Minnesota Vikings. He's going to be coming off the edge, replacing Randy Gregory. I'm probably most excited about that pick. Can't wait to see him out there. And then we get our boy, the wide receiver from I'm drawing, but South Alabama. We got Jalen Tolbert from to replace Amari Cooper. Now, is he going to replace Amari Cooper? No. CeeDee Lamb slides into the one. You got Gallup, out for an undefined amount of time, and James Washington comes in. But Jalen Tolbert is a very good player running after the catch. He's got great hands. He's got that size you want. Maybe a taller receiver that's about 195. He's actually going to be a pretty good third-round pick for the Cowboys, just like Michael Gallup was. So I would have to say the Cowboys did a really good job in the draft. I'm excited, but we got to wait and see what happens. We got to wait to see how this plays out. Is having the offensive line, because Tyler Smith is probably going to start off at left guard, maybe right tackle, but if he starts off at left guard, is it going to get Zeke going again? Fantasy football owners want to know. Dallas Cowboys fans want to know, is he done? Is all of his good games behind him now? Is he done? We'll see. If the Cowboys fix the line, he might be back. No running back gets it done alone. Not nowadays, at least. I know you would probably argue about that, Mr. Castleberry. That's why I said not nowadays, at least. But I have to give the Cowboys a B, just to be fair.
It's not bad. Not bad.
Well, they're probably gonna extend that streak to 26 years, but who's counting? The draft.
Woody, you're pumped. Don't even be shy about it.
The draft. One thing that Will said that I feel like is inarguable is that drafts are not won in April or May. All right. These grades that we give it are really just for our own selves, right? Because you need to see how it plays out. People who are drafted high perform, underperform. People who are drafted low overperform, right? That's how this thing works. But if we're talking strictly based on potential, you can go to sidetosidesports.com to the latest article. It is from James Woody, and it is about how the New York Jets got an A for this draft. Oh, my Lord. The way that Joe Douglas took a team that had recently just traded away like 4 picks for Sam Darnold and were just in cap purgatory. They had no space. They had nothing. They had Le'Veon Bell. They were paying Frank Gore, who is just as old, no disrespect, as Shawn Castleberry, but was a starter in the NFL as a running back. Okay, he took all of that, and now in the last 2 years, he's had five, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first-round picks, and I think all of these. Well, let me not say all of them, but most of them are going to be slam dunks. All right. I'm not going to lie. When I saw them say Sauce Gardner, I almost lost my mind because we need an edge rusher. We need one bad. Okay. The New York Sack Exchange, literally older than me. I've been yearning. I've been fiending for this Sack Exchange. All right. We had Carl Lawson tore his Achilles, but now he's back. And I wanted Thibodeau. I wanted him so bad to get drafted to the Jets, and that did not happen. So I was upset with Sauce. But now, looking at Joe Douglas's plan, see, this is why you can't overreact. This is why you cannot, you got to see how the chips fall as they may. So we got Sauce, okay? We got a CB1. With the next pick, we took Garrett Wilson. I was okay with that, okay? I wasn't a huge fan of trading it for Debo, or trading it for A.J. Brown and then paying the immediate, $26 million. To make them, a top 4, receiver in terms of salary, while I don't necessarily agree that either of them are a top 4 receiver in terms of talent. So I wasn't really a big fan. So to draft, a top prospect in the class was great. Would have much rather had somebody that we're going to hear his name in a little bit. We just heard it before, actually, Jameson Williams. That would have been my pick. Okay, I have no idea what the Falcons were thinking drafting Drake London. It's actually disrespect. I feel like it's disrespect that Jameson Williams was the 4th receiver off the board because I think he's the best one. but I'll take Garrett Wilson. Okay, he's fast. He's speedy. He can run nice routes. All right, so I'll take it. And then Jermaine Johnson. Ooh, ooh. We got the sack exchange. I'm telling you, the edge rush. All right, I'm very excited. All right, Robert Saleh. Now Jermaine Johnson. He slipped. He slipped a little bit. And I feel like all the knocks, right, that I've been hearing, right, because I've been hearing whispers. I've been trying to, whisper myself, see what's going on. All those whispers, I feel like those are things that can be cured in a healthy locker room with a great culture, which is what I think Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh have been building since Saleh has signed the contract. All right. I think right now, this locker room that is completely rid, literally, there's almost no one that remains from the Gase era, is now turning a new path. All right. As we now build a new team built on hard work, high motor, all gas, no break. So to do that, to add the best running back in the draft in Brees Hall, a speedy guy who can hit home runs and make things easier for Zach, I think that's really the thesis of this beautifully written essay that Joe Douglas gave the New York Jets organization, all right, and this weekend was, hey, we are going to give Zach what he needs to succeed. So we have rebuilt the line. We've given him 3 adequate receivers. He now has 3 capable tight ends with the signing or with the drafting, of lifelong Jets fan Jeremy Ruckert. And now with Brees Hall and Michael Carter, we have a really super duper exciting running back tandem for Zach. So that boy's out of excuses. All right. I better see something from Mr. Zach Wilson, because right now I feel like we got a nice roster around him. And now it's up to him to perform. So that is an A. Okay, this is significantly better than the roster that Joe Douglas inherited that had Brashad Perriman and Chris Hogan starting games with Frank Gore and one of the league's worst offensive lines. Now we have weapons. We have 2 great running backs. Go Jets, go. Take flight. A+. Well, not A+. It's an A. If they drafted Jameson Williams, probably would have been A+.
I guess I'll mop up this segment before we move on, and don't worry, I won't take too long. If we're just going, and again, I will reiterate that what Woody said, drafts are not won in April and May, but for the love of God, I don't know what the Patriots were doing at any point in this draft. Not round 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. I was waiting to be like, okay, well, this is going to make sense in a second. I'm going to read some scouting reports that, he was going to be taking the next 3. And everybody's like, no, we weren't. No, they could have waited. They could have waited for him too. They could have waited for him. I'm just like, just keep trading down if that's the case. What? Just keep shuffling the deck. Keep getting, the Patriots just blew it in my eyes. I mean, whenever Bill Belichick takes a receiver, it's almost automatically he's going to be trashing out of the league, probably, or he's going to be a kick returner in the next few years, or maybe a special teamer that just flies downfield to try and tackle some guys. But they're never going to be like good receivers. So I'm already Wash, 2nd round pick, Thornton. See you later. It's been nice knowing you. You're going to be gone in 2-3 years out of the NFL. Cole Strange. I mean, I texted you guys this before. I get it. Logan Mankins, Bill Belichick, they see something. They might have been picked before your next one. You got to take the talent that's out. Come on. No. There's just as many highlights as him getting manhandled at, Senior Bowl games as there is, of him manhandling other people at, Tennessee, Chattanooga. Everybody wants to say that, Belichick, we were just talking about this before we went on air. He's made a marvelous career of being able to just populate more draft picks and allow himself to not not bust on any first or second rounders because he just continually trades out and gets more and more assets. And if you have just a ton of draft picks, you're bound to find a diamond in the rough and hit one with all of those picks, right? And then, hey, some of your scraps hit your special teams, great, and you're on rookie contracts. It's just this Patriots way and trying to I have nothing but bad things to say about this draft, and hopefully I'm wrong and I'm eating my words just like Jason Tatum made me do this year. But good Lord, I struggled, and then they took a quarterback. I'm like, what? Why? You have one. You just took one. He was your number 14 pick last year. And by the way, say what you want, he made the Pro Bowl. Like, I know it's Pro Bowl and then people didn't show up, blah, blah, blah. But still, it means he was a pretty decent quarterback, at least. Like, cool. I guess we're just taking and Sam Howell was on the board too. I mean, as a if you want to have somebody compete with Mac, take the best available. I am so baffled right now. I said I wouldn't take up too much time. And so that's where I'm going to end it. Just a little bit of dry mouth and wanting to throw up in the back.
Well, I just want to add there that I was actually surprised that they took Zach as a quarter. I mean, look, it was your 6th pick and it was the 4th round. Taking a quarterback, Mac Jones still needs a backup. Somebody's got to compete. So, like, I don't really think that was bad, but I was surprised at the player they chose.
Yes,
but I usually don't critique Bill Belichick when he drafts in the trenches or the defensive backs because he is known for coaching. He looks at the tape and he sees a guy getting manhandled, but he sees what he can fix. And that's why his offensive linemen work out. That's why his defensive linemen work out. I mean, obviously not 100%.
That's fine, but you can trade. You can trade guys later, right?
The analysts, the scouts that we have access to. We don't have access to the 32 that matter. The ones that we have access to, they rate the draft off of what they think. But the 32 teams kind of know each other. Just like if all 4 of us did a fantasy football draft and we've been talking sports, we kind of know who's going to pick who. And if I wanted a certain player, I might be enticed to get him a little bit sooner before he comes to you on a snake. And that's why the draft is so surprising. Like, if we knew what was going to happen, there would be no need to watch it. But the best part about it is our research as diehard fans versus the 32 researchists that actually mattered is always wildly different, right? So Cole Strange may look strange at the end of the 1st round, but how do you know he wouldn't have gone in the middle of the 2nd round and it's somebody that Bill Belichick wanted? So it could be a bust. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that busts never happen, but I just give respect to Bill Belichick because with those, he misses on receivers. You killed that. You nailed that. I agree with you. He does. He misses on wide receivers. But those boys in the trenches, he coaches them boys up. And that's why the Patriots are always a smash mouth team, right? And you really can't name a lot of players on their team until, like, you know, outside of when they became a dynasty and, you know, the Richard Seahorns and all of those players. But the trenches and the defensive backs, man, Bill Belichick specializes there. So I would just say, I'm just talking to you as a friend and a fan, just give him a chance, man. It may not be all that bad.
Hey, listen, listen, Stag. If you want to put out like researchist, I am not the best researchist when it comes to the draft. So I'll leave it up to Belichick. Right? He's done some things, like I said, and I also said in my text, I could be looking down the road in 3 years where Strange is a 3-time Pro Bowler, and Belichick is just like, just did it again. Oh my God. Get off me. Get off me. And then, you know, I'll have to just swallow it again. But yeah, let's get Shawn back involved, right?
Yeah, sure. Anything you wanted to add about the Lions draft before
I know you talked about the top, but let's hear it. How are you feeling?
Well, one thing I want to add too, you guys heard me on the draft special the other day where I brought up, you know, Jimmy Johnson's famous points chart, right? Yep. And how I looked at that. I'm like, hey, we'll be willing to give a few extra points to Jacksonville so we could go get Aiden. Well, I used that same chart on the Jameson Williams trade. So And this is pretty interesting, guys. So first off, we made this trade within the division. This was with Minnesota. So Minnesota gave us 20 picks up. So if you take the 12 and the 46, which is what we got from Minnesota, off of Jimmy Johnson's chart, that totals 1,640 points. We gave Minnesota the 32, the 34, and the 66. That's only 1,410 points. We moved up 20 spots with our division rival and got better value and a better player, and arguably the best player at the position in the entire draft. An absolute steal. I don't care if he sees the field this year. He will. But what this guy is going to do for us in his career, and the over-the-top speed and open everything else up underneath, I mean, this is a perfect guy to come in, and Minnesota is going to regret that trade for a long, long time. So,
you usually don't see the interdivision trades.
No.
During the draft, especially.
Not in the first round.
Yeah, and Minnesota's just like, yeah, go ahead and get your start. Come on, go get him.
Oh, we got all the receivers we need. Yeah, you go ahead and give us less value, and you can take.
And then you guys killed it in the second round with Pascal.
Pascal, I mean, the only 3-time captain in Kentucky's history. You know, I think that says a lot about character. You know, you've heard me say multiple times on this show. You know, there's a Dan Campbell guy. This one really is through and through. He's another guy coming from the edge, giving us some of that depth. You know, they're going to be young and aggressive, and you know, if he's the guy that comes in when Aiden needs a breather, you know, this first season while he's getting everything ready, it's going to be something special. I also like Kirby Joseph we got from Illinois. You know, I was talking the other day. You know, the old strengthen your weakness, strengthen your strength. Well, Kirby is that guy now as a safety. He gets to go into that secondary, help build up something else for us on that, solidifying the deep route, start improving in that area. We need to get more picks. We only had 25 picks in the last 3 seasons combined. So we gotta increase that number. Another pick I wanted to just talk about for a second too. I know we got another tight end. I think that'll help out with Hawkinson and that, but James Houston, guy we got from Jackson State, you know, this is something I think it just says, again, a lot about how we're trying to really change that culture with what Detroit has been. You know, Brad Holmes, he is a HBCU alumni himself, you know, so he said all year, I want to make sure that the HBCU, you know, universities, they get some looks from us. So Houston was the first HBCU player that was drafted in this draft. Primetime Deion Sanders got his first guy he gets to talk about now. You know, help build that culture down there at Jackson State. He now can have a pipeline going and doing all that. So to me, it said, you know, Brad Holmes, he said all year this was something he was going to do. And then he showed he's a man of his word. And I think that's the kind of stuff that starts to build an organization. You know, I think he's going to be a heck of a player too. Like you look at some of his highlight films. I mean, he's a baller, but just as an organization, as a GM, to stand up and do something like that you said you were going to do and follow through on draft day when things get crazy, you know, I think it says something. So made a lot of people happy, myself included.
Preach. I wonder what they're going to do with Houston, if they're going to convert him to a linebacker, because you don't see too many 6'1" edge rushers, but he definitely has a motor. And I'm not going to say it can't be done. It can definitely be done. So, you know, he's going to be a very interesting pick. Like you said, a guy with a chip on his shoulder. That's good, man. Fellas, I really think that our teams had pretty good drafts, but I have to say the best draft out of all of us, I'm going to have to give it to the Jets.
You think the Patriots had a good draft, though?
You know what? I did overlook that. I don't think it was that bad, to be honest with you. I think Thornton, because he's got speed and they need speed so bad, and they're going to try to hit him short with those underneath routes. We'll see. But I don't think the Patriots draft was trash. I think it was definitely a Bill Belichick type of draft. And let's be honest, if Bill misses in the draft, he will acquire free agents that didn't work out from another team, and he'll make them work on his team. All he needs is the tape to see what he can fix. And once he knows what he has to fix, he fixes it. It's unbelievable. But that's what I think about our drafts. I'd have to say Jets, Lions, Cowboys, Patriots. If I rank,
completely agree with those with that list. And I do think the Lions are building some. I see it. I see it over there. And if you do get that QB, like if things don't work out this year, and you get that, that high QB like Bryce Young, I mean, it's gonna be crazy. And right when your division is starting to falter, like the Bears are just in such disarray, and the Vikings have Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers
will probably be gone after this year. I mean, it could be in the division just ripe for the taking.
That's what I'm saying.
Be careful with Bryce Young, because never in the history of quarterbacking has a quarterback entered the league after his sophomore year and done anything spectacular unless he sat first. So if Bryce Young comes in, he's going to need to sit. If he comes in and has to play, it's going to be a disaster all day. So let's transition to the court side and just wrap up the NBA playoffs really fast. We are in round 2 with some action-packed series right now. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to go to sidetosidesports.com and check out our writer, Vicky. Check out Vicky's Pickies. She broke down the second round. And let's start with the Eastern Conference. And let's start with the Miami Heat versus 76ers. Vicky has the Sixers winning in 7. I'm trying not to laugh. But she got the Sixers winning in 7 against the Miami Heat. Me personally, I don't know when Joel Embiid is coming back, but I don't see the Sixers getting – James Harden is not that guy. Maxey is becoming that guy, but he's not right now. And,
I had the Heat coming out, man. I had the Heat coming out of the East. I'm sticking to that.
I got the Heat winning that series. How about you fellas?
Yeah, Heat.
Yeah.
Heat,
James Harden just hasn't lost a step. I think he's lost half a leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a shell of what he was even, it seems like, a year ago. Whenever he'd start those fakes, he'd do like 8 or 9 of them. He's starting to pant when he gets to 3 now. It's just not the same guy. And they can wait out. They can wait him out. And that's why you're not seeing nearly as many shots taken. It's sad to see how quickly he fell off.
Yeah.
He can't continue this team. No.
It's tough. It's tough because I like James Harden a lot. Like, Shawn, we are here. We are joined by 2 certified James Harden haters. They have the cards in their wallets. But I'm not. I was actually I've been a fan of his game, and I actually thought his game was one that would age well because it wasn't dependent on athleticism. He uses angles, he uses his body, he uses fakes. It's a lot of high IQ basketball that he's playing. But I don't know, like you said, he's I guess still physical limitations and just shots that used to fall are not falling. So I got Heat. I got Heat in 5. Heat in 5. Embiid might come back. I actually think Embiid will come back this series. And I think that's what Vicky was counting on. Her pick, I think, was about the return of Embiid and him carrying.
Only missing one game, I think. In there,
yeah. Look, the same reason why it doesn't matter is Bam Adebayo. Bam is a great defender. They're lucky that they have him as a center who can play against other bigs, who can do some banging against the other bigs. That's why I like the Heat coming out of the East, because if you're going to match up against the Celtics or the Bucks, or you want somebody to stick to him. I mean, who better maybe even in the NBA than Bam Adebayo to guard a guy like Giannis, right? And just take him out of the game, or just Jason Tatum and shut him down. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. Bam might not even be the best perimeter defender. Like, you can throw Butler on guys and mix and match with that too. And then Kyle Lowry's a dog. Like, Heat are going to give Philadelphia problems. And here is one, before we move on to the next series, just want to shout out Toby Harris. They wouldn't have been close without you, buddy. Last game, I know Will was hating in the big. He says you play like trash every big game. This might have been the biggest game of your life that you've ever played. Embiid was out, and the only reason why your team even had a chance in that game was because of you. So
they still got waxed. Like what? Like you're acting like he was out there carrying them to victory.
No, he was.
Yeah, okay, he had good
the
stats,
only reason
right?
why.
Yeah,
they were down by 1 in the first half, and that was only because of Tobias Harris.
Did you watch Tobias Harris in those losses against the Toronto Raptors?
Where was he? The last Tobias Harris game, where you were telling me how trash he played in big games.
Where was he in those losses versus Toronto?
Where was he? Where was he in the last game? The most recent evidence that we have. All I'm saying is
that's what I'm saying. He's wildly inconsistent. Like you can
hate on Toby.
This is a game that they lost, by the way.
This is not the office.
I can see if they beat the Heat, but
they lost. This is actually an office shirt, by the way.
This is not the office. We are hating on Toby, and we need to move on. All right.
Let's move on to the Bucks versus the Celtics.
Let's do it.
Because speaking of moving on, the Celtics tonight, during the recording of this sportscast, the Celtics punched the Milwaukee Bucks back in the face. After getting punched in the face, they punched them back in the face. Game 3 and Game 5 of a split series are always the most pivotal games, right? It's going back to Milwaukee. If the Boston Celtics can win Game 1 on that home floor, that is going to boost their momentum. But if Milwaukee can win that game on their home floor, that is going to skyrocket their momentum heading into another home game. So this is a very interesting series now. I actually think this one might be one that goes 7. But before this season started, we asked who's the best player in the world. You guys thought it was Kevin Durant. I said it's Giannis. And so far, I've been right. Giannis is listen, it's even when he struggles, he just does not stop. Giannis does not stop coming, and he does not stop. Like he could be 2 for 12. He's going to come back out of the half and hit 7 out of his first 9. He's going to go inside. He just keeps working. But I just think the difference in this game is Boston did a good job today, but Milwaukee is going to get them. They're going to force them to shoot the 3 a lot more frequently, and I don't know how often they're going to be able to keep it up. So I got Milwaukee winning this series in 7.
I will say it will also be a 7-game series. But remember when I made my extremely horrible pick of the Nets getting to the finals, I actually said
out of the East
that the winner of that series is my pick. I think those are 2 really, really good teams. And the Celtics, we already saw what happened, had the broom out. Matching up against the Bucks, I mean, these are 2 really tough, deep teams where, obviously, Giannis is the story, but there are a lot of quality players on that Bucks lineup, but they are without Middleton. That is that's a loss. It's a pretty big loss. And, with Tatum, Brown, Marcus Smart doing their thing, I'm going to go with the Celtics in 7. That's my pick.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I look at this. This is there. You mentioned depth. I really don't think Milwaukee has that right now. I think without Middleton, this Milwaukee Bucks team reminds me of the old Danny Manning Kansas team. The one-man show that just took them all the way through to the NCAA championship back in the day. Giannis can do that. He's that good. He could carry them all by himself, but this Celtics team has got a lot of players, and I really like Jason Tatum. I think this is a kid that's on, he's already done so much, but I don't think we've even hit the ceiling with what he's going to do in this league. And I think every one of these playoff games is just giving him that extra confidence, is even more getting him really comfortable out there. And I actually think that unless Middleton comes back and really just does something quick, I say Celtics in 6.
Listen, I'm right there with you. I'm glad that you said that because after watching the first two games, the Celtics had a hiccup game, right? They game one, Jaylen Brown played like, I mean, every once in a blue moon, Jaylen Brown has a stinker, like an absolute game where you just look at him like, do you remember how good you are? Like, be that guy again. And then normally the bounce back game happens and he comes out and he's firing on all cylinders. We didn't even have the defensive player of the year tonight, and we held Milwaukee to 89 points. That's just, to me, just goes to show you, you're right. The Celtics do have that. They are that team. They used 7 guys tonight, aside from the last like mop up 2 minutes where they literally put in Nick Stauskas and Sam Hauser and Aaron Nesmith and Luke Cornett, that devastating lineup, the death lineup, in a very different way than Golden State. But
the victory cigar lineup.
That's exactly what it is. But yeah, I got Celtics in 6 just because of what we saw tonight in game 2 was enough to push me in the direction of saying, okay, even with Marcus Smart out, even with Jason Tatum not performing on the offensive side of the floor as well as he could, we still came out with a 20-point win. I mean, that's something, that's a statement right there. And I think if we can go into Milwaukee and, like Will said, take game 1, momentum shift right to the Celtics, and they could just storm the gates from there.
See, the biggest factor in tonight's game was Grant Williams hitting 6 threes off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in game 1,
that's not a fluke though either.
Oh no, he can shoot, right? But see, Milwaukee gives the 3 because they lock down the paint. They give the 3. Mm-hmm. They dare you to shoot it, right? And that's what happened in game 1. Milwaukee forced them to shoot 53s and they missed 31 of them, right? It was Brick City in Boston. Now in game 2, Boston hit 20 of those threes, right? Jalen hit 6. Grant hit 6. Tatum hit 5. You know, these guys were shooting the ball. And what do you say? If you live by the 3, you're eventually going to die by the 3. So I'm just curious to see how long Boston can keep this up. I don't think Milwaukee's going to change their game plan. Milwaukee is either going to get killed by the 3 or they're going to live to see another day because of the failed execution of the Celtics hitting 3s. But it's a dangerous game to play. I would not be surprised if the 3 of you actually win, but I'm going to stand on this mountain by myself. And I've got Milwaukee advancing. Now, let's talk
about your boys now. Let's talk about your boys, Gaddy.
No, let's talk about Memphis versus Golden State first, right? Let's talk about them first. I actually think this is going to be a 7-game dogfight. I mean, look, they're locked neck right now. Game 1, you couldn't, if you're Memphis, JJJ has the best game of his career. Draymond Green gets ejected, you know. Ja Morant scores 30 points. And you still lose. That's gotta hurt, man. That's gotta hurt. Klay Thompson misses 2 foul shots. 2 in a clutch. And you still lose. But right now they're in a dogfight. If they lose this game, if they lose tonight, it's over for Memphis in maybe 6, maybe 5. But if they pull this win out tonight, I think this is going to continue to go back and forth. Every game in this series is probably going to be close. I picked Memphis to go to the finals. I kind of want to change my pick, but I'm not. I'm going to stick with it, right? But I actually don't like Memphis's chances. So I am just going to have to say, based on what I've seen so far, I think Golden State wins this series. And I think they win it in 6.
Hey man, I got it. Even I'm just gonna take this real quick because I got Warriors sweeping this one. Laugh. Hey, the guy who's laughing at me right now, don't forget he was the one who picked the Nets to come out of the East. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Relax. That's one bad pick in maybe 6 months.
So oh, by the way, are we adding Tobias Harris to my all-star fantasy lineup, CJ's lineup?
Hey, man, if you want to have the Chris Middleton, you know, Al Horford, Harris, you go ahead.
Richard. and Peyton Pritchard. We can't
put
forget
Peyton Pritchard out there. You go ahead with them trash truck drivers.
No, that's an inside joke, Sean. I just got high praise. I got high praise for all these guys that are just mediocre talents. So we're making an all-star CJ lineup out of it.
But the sweep, huh?
But the sweep, that's what I got right now, because the Warriors, to me, they are back to that def lineup with or without Draymond. Like, you just mentioned all of the aspects of like what could have gone right for Memphis went right. What could have gone wrong for the Warriors went wrong. And then somehow the Warriors still pull it out. Like, they're back. They got plenty of talent, plenty of shooting ability, like just to line up. And they're great defensively. I think it's a bad matchup for Memphis because they play this small ball lineup constantly. It's like they don't have a big out there. You have to go out and guard Otto Porter. If you have Nemanja Bjelica out there, you can't just leave him wide open for three. Like, I mean, their entire team is just equipped to shoot your lights out. And I don't care. They've got a great defense. So if you're not able to keep up in that track meet up and down the floor with 3-pointers, barrage left and right, I just see them. I don't like the matchup for Memphis. I think the Warriors are just going to pull it out 4 games, call it a day.
Huh. Yeah, well, I see it. I'll give them 5. I think they can get a courtesy win out of that. The courtesy sweep, as they like to call it. Ja Morant,
courtesy sweep, the gentleman's sweep.
Gentleman's sweep. Ja Morant is on that kind of climb. You heard me talk earlier, like that's what Jordan had to do, like fight his way up. I see that for Ja. He's not going to beat this team. This team. Two or three of those guys in that Warriors team can have a bad night and they'll still put up 115 points. It's just the way that they're built. Jordan Poole, my Wolverine guy over here, he's doing more in the NBA than he did at Michigan. He's being a part of that team, and how they go about the game has brought out something that he didn't even know he had in him. I mean, they just and then you look at it even when you got Steph, he got to rest a lot leading up to this thing. He's got more in those legs than he's had in the last few years going into some of these kind of games. So he won't even bother getting to half court at this point, and he'll start launching them. So yeah, Warriors in 5.
Okay.
Well, I just say this because listen, if they win tonight and they get to go back to Golden State for 2, I don't know. I mean, Memphis will be so deflated at that point. I just feel like it's going to be, that's my justification, Moody, just to give you that. I know it's.
Let me complete the sweep of this panel for picking the Golden State Warriors. Vicky says Warriors in 6. I'm going to ride with Vicky. Will just said it too. And it's actually funny because Will said that the Grizzlies were going to make it out of the West. I was standing side by side as we are right now, picking those Grizz because they have a good team, young guys, hungry guys. I was hyping Taylor Jenkins, and all of those things still exist. I do think they are going to get some games. I actually completely agree with Will's assessment that I believe all of these games are going to be single-digit games. Like every game is going to be close, but in those close games in the playoffs, usually, Shawn said it before, the bounce of the ball, right? Sometimes it goes different ways, but it tends to have that favor to the veteran team that's been there before, that's done it. I mean, Draymond, Steph, Clay, they've been here before. They've done this dance so many times. And now they got their young bloods. They did the reload, right? Jordan Poole is there, just honestly going down the entire roster. Gary Payton the second out here, just throwing it down, out the blue. Like the roster is just they're just built for this right now. And they're kind of looking a little unstoppable right now. I don't know. They're looking very scary. They're looking scary. So I would say Warriors in 6. They're an incredible team.
All right. We got one more match. That leaves our favorite one.
We are now going to talk about the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Vicky has picked the Mavericks in 7. And those of you who follow me on Instagram know that that's the pick that I clearly was not happy about, right? But I get it. You know, it's Luka Mania. It's Luka Magic. Luka's the man. But you know what I saw in Luka last night on Monday against the Phoenix Suns? Dallas played great. They only had 8 turnovers the whole game. Luka had 5 of them because he always has the ball in his hand. And that's okay. You can let Luka do everything all the time. You know, let him be ball dominant. The Suns are one of the few teams in the NBA that consistently shoot less than 33s per game. They consistently shoot less than 33s. They shoot the mid-range shot. They play inside. And it's really not a good matchup for the Mavs. The Suns have now beat the Mavs 10 consecutive times. I do think the Mavs are going to get one of these wins, but I'm going with Suns in 6. So the Mavs might get 2 wins, but I'm going with the Suns in 6. It's just not a good matchup for the Mavs, even though Luka Doncic is clearly the best player in this series. He just can't do it all by himself. Can't do it all by himself, and the Suns are taking everyone else away. Am I going to bank on Max Kleber to just continue to hit 5 or 6 threes a game? No, he's shooting lights out, but those lights are going to turn out. Suns in 6. Rally the Valley. Let's go.
Suns in 6. That's generous. I'm going with another sweep here, guys.
Wow.
No, and then it's time to bash heads again with the Suns and the Warriors. But this matchup, regardless, I didn't care who. You guys knew this from the get-go. I had the flaming hot finals with the Heat and the Suns. And I truly believe in this Suns team just because I think they're better than what they've been in the past. Just team basketball, like there's CP3 is coming up huge when he has to. Getting Booker back is like we forget that they even lost Booker because they just filled the gaps so well and continue to have a productive postseason. And so for a team like that, I'm in love with what the Suns have done. I think it started when Chris Paul, Monty Williams, love him, but Chris Paul got there and really just changed everything for that team. Chris Paul has been an asset on every single team. Unfortunately, he hasn't won a ring, and I think he's going to be one of the guys that's the most.
Whoa.
What? I'm saying I'm hoping that CP3 can get himself a ring. He would be one of the guys that I would be most upset about, tremendous players who haven't won rings. He would be at the top of my list because and his career is not over. It's not. And I think they're going to take it down this year. I've predicted it. I hope he does. If it's not my Celtics, it's my second vote getter over there in the Western Conference. He's covering his ears. I don't have to jinx nothing because they're going to go through a sweep right now. And then they're going to go to 7 games with the Warriors. It's going to be a bash. And then they'll probably handle whatever comes out of the East anyways. But maybe it'll be the Heat. That's my prediction, though. Sweep City in the West. You heard it here first.
Wow.
But that's crazy. I was expecting the Suns to sweep last series. And they are a mortal team full of mortal men. Chris Paul is definitely something special. I'm not sure if he'd be on top 5 of my list if he were to retire today. Of the great players who never win a ring. I am gonna have to. I'm riding with Vicky in the West. All right, in the West, I think she's spot on. I'm saying the Mavs in 7. Okay. Game one was it was pretty ugly, but I think people are too quick to overreact to the early series, the early part of the series, game 1, game 2, like a 2-0 lead, right? That's expected, right? You're supposed to win at home. I feel like a series, obviously provided that you win at home, really starts in game 5. Okay, so game 1. Suns had that one. I think. Jalen Brunson. What he was able to do when Luka was out. Okay, pretty much put the Mavs in there. I don't want to say himself, but he was doing the heavy lifting. Okay, I think the Mavs. I think they're going for the upset. Mavs in 7.
Talk to us, Mr.
First times I
Castleberry.
think me and you disagree on one of these predictions. Yeah, it's like,
that's true. That's
we have
true.
a lot of the same thoughts.
I'm looking at this, guys. I can't see the Suns losing this series. You've heard a pretty common theme from me throughout this whole thing. Teams climb, they persevere, they take it level by level. They got so close last year, and I think it ticked them off. They're ready to go even further this year and get there. As CJ said, they're deep. They can have a player go out. They still manage to not even skip a beat. They can go inside. They can run a traditional type of offense. So they don't have to worry about those cold nights of shooting. They're just going to go in there and play their game. When you got a Chris Paul, when you got a Devin Booker, I mean, these guys are just going to be consistent every single night, and they will just find a way, to beat you. I'm looking at them taking this series in 5. And yeah, the Warriors series is just going to be must-see TV.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome.
It is going to be.
Always is. Yeah.
I just want to say one more thing. The only reason why the New Orleans Pelicans did not get swept by the Phoenix Suns is because in game 2, Devin Booker had 31 in the first half and tore his hamstring. But obviously he came back a few games later. It did not look like the same Suns without him. So we need Booker to be healthy. When I say we, I'm talking about me and the rest of the Valley. We need the Suns to stay healthy. You cannot take on another injury. Last year, Chris Paul got dinged up right before the finals. If the Suns want to win it all or get past these Mavs, they have to stay healthy because Chris Paul was putting the clamps on Jalen Brunson. Nobody in Utah plays defense besides Rudy Gobert. That's why he's fussing right now. But in the Suns, everybody on the court plays defense. There's not a player out there who does not play defense. So it's going to be, I respect Luka. I think Luka can, he had a late run in that game. He got hot in the fourth quarter. The game was still out of reach, even though the score looks a lot closer than it was. But that's going to carry some momentum into game 2. Game 2 could be a close game. We're going to see what happens. And hey, there goes our picks. You heard it from us. We want to thank our man Shawn Castleberry for coming on the Sportscast representing Motor City Mania. Thank you. We absolutely got to have you on again. Maybe sometime in the offseason, talk some Michigan football, talk about what the Lions are actually doing, talk about their roster breakdown. We would love to have you on again, if not even sooner than that. But ladies and gentlemen, we want you to come on the Sportscast. Call it how you see it. Call it how you saw it. Call out the people who didn't see it how you saw it. We want to hear what you think about what's going down in the sports world today. Get side to side with your boys. And until we see you, we out.